living and managing diabetes is, it's not an easy feat because every day is different. No matter what you do, like you can do the same thing, the same routine every single day, and your blood sugar levels could be different every single day.
I just don't think he has it anymore.
Should any team want Carmelo Anthony?
Blasphemous.
Yes, sir, Carmelo.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, a podcast where we control the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you're a returner, a subscriber, or better yet, a Control the Narrative member, we appreciate the members a little bit more, but we appreciate all of our followers and viewers and things like that. It is January 23rd. We are still kind of just waiting to see what's going on with Carmelo Anthony and, this kind of blackball part 2. So there hasn't been too much for us to talk about. But with that being said, we have a first for Control the Narrative. On episode 123, it took 122 episodes for us to get to this point. But we have someone who is joining the podcast today who is a former professional basketball player, a former teammate of Carmelo Anthony's, and also Justin, a new author of a children's book, which we'll get into in a minute. But I'd like to welcome to the show Gary Forbes. Gary, my guy, how you doing today, bro?
Good. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Of course, man. I was just telling you before we started this that I'm sure there's 8,000 different things you could be doing and working on right now. So for real, man, we appreciate this time you're giving to us, and happy to spread this message, which we'll get into in a minute. But first off, we talk a lot about that guy Carmelo Anthony on this podcast. We feel that, he's just gotten a bad rap for whatever reason throughout the years, like dating all the way back to Denver when you played with them for that 1 year. So what can you say about how special he was on the court? I think we all kind of know that. But also more importantly, like what type of leader he was off the court that you got to watch firsthand and witness firsthand that us as fans didn't really get to see.
Oh man, well, I mean, obviously, numbers pretty much speak for itself, and his work is pretty much stamped. I think he's a Hall of Famer, and I know that that will happen, eventually in his career. But as a leader, I mean, I think he was, a good person to be around. Always, in a chipper mood. Always happy to lead the young guys in the way. And he's grown obviously as the years have gone on. He's grown in the leadership aspect. Being in New York was a big market for him, and I think he did a great job in being a leader, one of the leaders of that team.
Fire, yeah. I think I don't know. It's just weird that whenever like the narrative around Melo, that's kind of like how this whole thing started. Nobody listens to his teammates. Nobody listens to a lot of the people around him. They just listen to like what media say and fans like that. So like hearing it from someone who, although it was 3/4 of a season, who was really around him.
We actually created a cool bond. Myself, Al Harrington, and JR and Chauncey were always pretty much going to dinners together and just hanging out. And it was cool to be around someone who I tried to model part of my game after, in the mid range and things like that, and being able to shoot and work out with him was a great opportunity for me to learn from him.
That's awesome, dude. And he like, again, we're a podcast, and we're not only about Carmelo, but like he's just someone who we feel like deserves a lot of this talk that people aren't talking about him in that light. That one season you were there, I know there was a lot of drama where that was the season Melo got traded and shit was in the media 24/7. Since then, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Yo, sorry to interrupt you if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but just wanted to let you know that we sell merch here at Control the Narrative. We got everything from t-shirts, like I got this Pixel Melo t-shirt right next to me. Then we got this Melo Knicks rap tee that we sold. This was a bestseller, as you can imagine. We got hoodies. We got new era snapbacks. We got champion beanies. We got a lot of heat on the site for only Melo fans, only those people who control narratives. Shop controlthenarrative.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead to the description. You'll see the link there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just type it in, shopcontrolthenarrative.com. A bunch of heat. We're always dropping shit. So go check it out. I'm sure you'll find something you like. And now let's get back to the show. Since then, he said publicly that the reason he didn't want to re-sign with the Nuggets was because that they were ready to break up this nucleus that just 2 years earlier made it to the conference finals. So do you feel like that team with you and some of the guys you just mentioned, Chauncey, JR, Kenyon, Nene, do you think they would have eventually won a championship? Or do you think if the front office continued to build around them, or do you think 09 was the peak and you guys, kind of peaked out there?
No, man, I think that year we were really, really good. We were one of the top teams in the West. We had the number one and number two bench scoring group in the NBA. And, I think our camaraderie we were building at that time. I think we were in a really good space and a really good place. And, what's crazy is when Melo didn't show up to the practice after All-Star break, obviously that's when everybody, figured out that, he wasn't going to be returning. It was kind of a shocking surprise because we were playing really well at that time, in the season. And, I think that if we kept with that squad, obviously we don't know what would happen. Dallas ended up winning that year. And I think we had Dallas's number that year. We were playing pretty good against them. But I think if we kept that team together, anything could have happened. Building around Melo and stuff.
Yeah, beat them 2 years earlier in the playoffs too.
Right.
Interesting shit, man. You're someone who, again, the only person we've had on this podcast who's played professional basketball all over the world. Mm-hmm. So, you spending time in the NBA, what are your thoughts on how the game has evolved in the league, specifically from the time you were in the league till now? Like, do you like the freedom and the increase in scoring? Do you think it waters down the product? Like, where do you stand on that?
I'm a little, on the fence. I'm a 50-50 guy. I played on both ends of the court. I was a defensive guy and I like to score the ball. So, I do enjoy the scoring, but, there's obviously, less defensive, care, I guess, in the game. Scores are like 140 and, teams are getting, teams are going over 100 pretty easily. And, that's a testament to how, skill that everyone has gotten, how much the game has evolved. And, one of my favorite teams, obviously, to watch is Golden State, just how they move the ball. Everybody's a part of the offense. I kind of like that more so than the ISO ball kind of things. But, a lot of these great players are good at what they do. So, the game is in good hands. I think it's definitely evolving. It's obviously changing as it's always done. And, I think if the fans love it, that means the game is going in the right way.
Do you think all the things that you just talked about can be attributed more to like the talent is better and players are just more skilled, or do you think it's the rules, or do you think it's analytics? Like, what do you think about that?
I think that the science and analytics took over that. A lot of coaches and GMs and everybody that's pretty much in the front office that plays a big part in the game now. And I think there's so many talented players that aren't in the NBA due to that analytic stuff and science and things like that. So. I think the game is just more, I guess, technical now more than anything, especially like I said with the analytics. But the skill level has risen. The science guys are, doing so many things. These guys are jumping out the roof crazier than during my time. They only had like a couple of guys that were able to do some of these amazing attributes, but. Everyone is pretty much windmilling and going on the break and doing some type of highlight dunk now. So,
that's why when Vince Carter did it, it was like, holy shit. And now you have like 5 of those dunks every game.
Right. It's like, it's nothing now.
Yeah. Word. Yo, last interruption, I promise. But if you've been listening or watching the podcast for this long, that means you probably fuck with us, which also means you'll probably fuck with all the perks you get from being a Control the Narrative member. We send our members free merch every 3 months. And it's exclusive to our members. We don't also sell this on our site. It's merch only for the members. So, for example, here's one we did. We paid homage to the 2012 Knicks Christmas Day jerseys. Also, all members always get 20% off all of our general drops forever. Like, that's not capped out. That's 20% off every single purchase on our merch website. We give our members free tickets to in-person events. We have a town hall every month. We always try to think about the members first and how we can bring value to those people. So if all this shit sounds interesting to you, go to controlthenarrative.com, click become a member, pick a tier, sign up, and we will see you in the Patreon, man. Excited for this. We have a lot of cool stuff in store for these members moving forward. So go sign up if that sounds interesting to you. And I promise, now we're back to the show for good. Yo, another thing I wanted to get into is kind of your health side of things, because you're one of a handful of athletes, let alone basketball players, in the history of sports who played at the highest level with diabetes. My question, just to like learn more about it and to help spread the word, is like, how are you able to navigate with being diagnosed with that at such a young age, yet still being able to thrive in your profession? Because again, like I said, we've seen that a handful of times, and especially in the league, you're one of, I think, 3 NBA players ever who's dealt with that. So just tell us a little about like you navigating that and how you ultimately got your dream.
It's crazy that stat that I'm one of 3 players in the NBA history that's like 76 years, like 5,000 players, and to be one of 3 is a elite group. And living and managing diabetes is, it's not an easy feat, because every day is different. No matter what you do, like you can do the same thing, the same routine every single day, and your blood sugar levels could be different every single day. So when I was diagnosed at 19, I always had the dream. I had the dream written down that I was going to play in the NBA. And although I had this obstacle to maneuver with, the plans weren't deterred at all. I know most people in situations like that, they have, the negative, the negative talks or negative mindset around it, because it is such a serious thing. It is a life-threatening, chronic health condition. And I don't know, I just had the cliche saying, like, the mind over matter things. And my father, who, recently passed away, he also was a diabetic. My nephew's a diabetic, so it's kind of in our DNA at the moment. But, as a testament to him, he always just taught me to, just keep pushing through. If you have a goal, if you have a vision, with no doubt in there, pretty much, anything is achievable. And I made a quote that's in the book. It's doubt your doubts before you doubt your faith. And I think pretty much anybody that's going towards something, it's like, what's the point of even doubt? What's even the point of even having a doubt if you have a vision? That basically deters the vision if you're even thinking about, it not happening. So
yep.
I remember I wrote down in the 2nd grade that I was going to be playing the NBA. And, although, didn't get drafted, which I felt I should have, had to go overseas, I still had that vision that I was going to play in the NBA, and I did it. And, I think that's just a testament to mindset and how strong, the mind really works and really can, put you where you see yourself.
All right. This is kind of off topic and kind of like a selfish question, but when you say, you wrote that in 2nd grade and then you went overseas after not being drafted and all these things, what kind of things did you do? Like, did you have daily affirmations? Were you meditating on this? Like the spiritual side of things? I'm very interested in this, so just want to hear your.
Yeah, I'm a daily like affirmations guy. I kind of like repeat the same. I still have some affirmations that I repeat to myself every night. Some of them have been checked off with recently my book coming out. But I've always been just about energy, man. I think that when you have the right mindset and the right energy behind things, like I said, with no doubt, I remember my sister always jokes about me, even when we were in college. Like I said, if we were playing Duke or one of the top teams in the country, or, when I was on a not so good team, I always felt that we were going to win that game. And it's maybe a naive thinking. Yes, I know, you're not going to go 82-0. You're not going to go perfect season. That's very, very rare. But, like I said, what's the point of even having that doubt? You play to win, you do everything to win, you do everything for success, you do everything to be good at it. So what's the point of even having this mindset that is not even part of that reality,
Yeah. You know what it is? It's like when people worry about things, it's like if you worry about it and it happens, like you kind of deal with it then. And then if
Right.
you worry about it and then it doesn't happen, it's like you just worried for nothing.
Right,
It's like, yo, why
exactly.
am I going to think like, all right, cool, I'm not going to win this game? It just
Right.
like causes you stress, anxiety, all these things. And then like it either happens or it doesn't. And it's like, all right, cool, you go out there and do it. And like I love that daily affirmations things because I know when I was looking at your Instagram bio and it was like New York Times bestselling author, it's coming. It's like I love shit like that. Respect.
Right. Yeah, I see it coming, man. I have so much big visions, especially for this new journey that I'm on. But it's pretty much the same mindset that I had with playing basketball. Yeah, I wanted to win the NBA championship and be an all-star and all those things that every player does want. All right, that didn't happen, but I was still able to achieve a dream and to play against great players, to play with great players. And now I think my legacy and my impact is going to be even bigger with what I'm doing right now.
I believe it. All right, let's get into it, Gary. Soul Survivors, New Age of Heroes. Pick this up on Amazon. This is available on Amazon, and you could plug in wherever else in a minute. But tell me about the book. Tell me what made you think about writing a book. What lessons did you learn that you implemented in the book? What's the overall lesson? Like, just tell us about this book that you just came out with recently.
So, Soul Survivors, Volume 1. It's the first of going to be 42 volumes total. So I've written six whole books. Well, the vision of 6 whole books, 7 volumes in each of the book series. But at the end of my career, I was thinking, all right, what do I do after basketball? I could have easily done the coaching thing and been able to still be around basketball, but something made me feel that my journey or my purpose was bigger, in a sense, and I wanted to leave a legacy behind. I wanted to make a mark in people's perceptions on how they view themselves or how they view the world or what they're going through. And I was always into comic books growing up. I had, He-Man and Conan books, X-Men, and those were, some of my favorite cartoons growing up. And I've always had like a childlike mentality, very imaginative. And, I was able to kind of like see things. And I, just figured out what kind of impact or what can I do with this, I guess, disability that I have and make an impact and make it, a positive light. And I think most of the illnesses that the health conditions that I name in this, the first volume of this book, whether it be autism, cancer, leukemia, mental health illness, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, I think, giving these chronic health conditions a positive, positive light on it changes the narrative in a sense where there's so many people with every one of these illnesses that have done great things, as well as removing the stigma of us as humans in society, not really understanding autism or not really understanding type 1 or type 2 diabetes or any one of these chronic conditions that I name, because everyone I feel knows someone with one of these chronic health conditions, whether it be, your family or a friend of a friend and things like that. So, I wanted to create, that inclusivity kind of thing, because it's, I was I guess we call it a hybrid. I was able to live out most of my childhood without type 1 diabetes. And, I got in my my freshman year of college at UVA. So I was able to live out my, high school and childhood life without, this, serious health condition.
Yep.
And, I've always had a positive mindset, no matter, what the condition is. I've had very, very, scary instances living with diabetes, being in a diabetic coma and many low blood sugar episodes and things like that. But even coming out of that, I always had a positive outlook, always had a smile on my face, always felt very sure of what, my purpose was in this world. And, Soul Survivors is that. And there's so many things that I see this franchise, doing for not only kids, living with these chronic health conditions, but just, to make people more aware of things and just supporting and getting the positive outlook on everything.
That's amazing, bro. You mentioned like, yo, you always had this smile even after going through all these, like traumatic experiences. Where'd you get that from? Because like I feel like that's what you're trying to do with this, is like give kids a positive outlook on things,
Right.
and be like, yo, this isn't the end of the world, like all these different
Yeah.
things. So like you didn't have this when you went through a lot of
No,
the stuff that
no.
you just mentioned. So where'd you get that inspiration or light from?
I don't know. I think if you ask anyone, any like my parents or anyone of my friends, I play around a lot. I'm a very almost to like an annoyance sometimes with people. So,
I've heard that. You
um,
don't know how many times, Gary.
so I mean that's just like the remember the Toys R Us the Toys R Us slogan. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid, kind of things like that. And I feel like just having that childhood or that childlike mentality makes you a dreamer and makes you, want to create things and, like feel like, you're doing like something good. So, even when I went through all these, chronic health conditions, I've had many, many instances with low blood sugar episodes, in the doctor's office, or, the major one when I was in Argentina, going into diabetic coma. I just felt all those things were part of, my purpose and part of, me inspiring and telling this story, because I never really knew how much of an impact me having diabetes had. That's why coming out of college, I kind of hit it, during my draft process, because, at that time, nobody besides Chris Dudley, but at the time was in the NBA, and Adam Morrison, but they weren't really outspoken about diabetes, and it wasn't something that was acceptable. So,
Yep.
Me doing that, with this positive, I guess, mindset and outlook through all the things I went through, 6 knee surgeries, and all those kind of like setbacks. They weren't really setbacks. They were kind of like springboards into what I'm, purposely doing now. And I really feel like, really good about it. This is when the book came out last week, that was me getting my name called draft night, which I didn't, happen when I was playing basketball. But, this, makes up for that.
That's amazing, bro. If half the people in the world had a mindset like that, the world would be a very different place, dude. You said you like to fuck around and joke around a lot. Can you let us in on something funny that happened that year in Denver? Because I know JR is kind of like that. I know that like Melo does a lot of shit like that too. Is there anything that you can tell us that was like till this day you still laugh about when you think about?
Nah, so one funny story when I was my rookie duties, which were crazy. Which I'm an older rookie at the time. I played 2 years overseas, so
Yep.
and me and Melo maybe like months apart in age and things like that. So I think one game we came back from a road trip, and usually obviously we park at a private airport, and everybody's cars are there, and usually when we're landing in Denver, whether it's snowing or raining, they have our cars on, and it's wiped down, cleaned, everything ready to go. So we land in Denver, and I see everybody on the team like just sitting down, except for the coaches. Coaches got off the plane and they went to their cars. I guess they had called before we got there, telling them like nobody cleaned any of the players' cars. So Kmart and Melo are sitting down at the table together, and Kmart, takes his hat out and he walks down the aisle getting everybody's car keys. So he gave me the car keys and he was like, "Yo, I have to clean pretty much everybody's car off, the snow off." And it's like freezing cold outside, freezing cold, bro. And I was so pissed off, like, yelling, cursing at them, like, "Yo, this is messed up, man. Like, I'm trying to go home." And it's like about 11 cars, yeah, like I had to clean. And Birdman had like a crazy, like half a semi truck kind of car. So, yeah, it was crazy.
Like the middle of the winter type shit, right?
Yeah. Middle of the winter. It's like January, snowing. Like it just probably had like a blizzard in Denver, but. The next day I had a envelope in my locker with some money or whatever. So they took care of me, whatever. So it was my rookie duties. But I'm cool with it.
Bro, Kenyon Martin tells me to clean his car. That's one of the dudes in the industry. It's like the last person I want to fuck with. I'll be like, all right, which one's your car, Kmart?
Right. Kmart was a great teammate nonetheless, man. Yeah. He was hard on everybody, especially my rookie year. But
yeah,
appreciated all that, especially the bread.
Of course. Yo, 2 quick questions to end this off, and then we'll do the control and narrative thing. What do you think is the most underrated thing about Carmelo Anthony? Because again, we need to get some more Melo content in here.
It's the most underrated thing. Honestly, we can't say
this could be like a move. This could be. You could say scoring if you want. Up to you. Whatever you want.
I mean, it's not. His scoring is definitely not underrated. I would say it's passing. Passing might be underrated. I mean, when he did pass, there's some times like he definitely had some good assist highlights though, for sure.
Yeah, he did that one-handed pass off the bounce. I think it was in Portland. It was fire.
Yep.
And Gary, who do you think was the most skilled player? Not necessarily the best, but the most skilled player that you witnessed firsthand during your 2 years in the league? Like that, their skills like.
Brandon Roy was the toughest person I ever had to guard. I mean, I guarded Kobe, guarded Dewey Wade, guarded Braun, Joe Johnson, all these skilled guys, Paul Pierce. But Brandon Roy was a tough cover. Like that was a long night for me in Portland.
What made him so hard? Obviously, he could shoot, dribble, but like
he do everything, man. And he was just skilled, super skilled. If it wasn't for the knee injuries, and I feel them because I feel the same way. If it wasn't for all these knee surgeries that I had to go through, he would have been a great. He could have did. He was already a great player, but he could have did so many more great things in Portland. And we missed out on seeing that.
Big time. Dude, there was a lot of good 2s and 3s at that point in the league. Kobe, D Wade, like LeBron played 3, Pierce played 3, Melo played
every
3.
Every night.
That must have been tough.
Every night.
That must have been tough. All right, Gary. I first of all, this was 26 minutes. I told you 30, so wanted to keep that under. But appreciate the time for real.
I appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Even that interaction that we had, just like fucking around with the practice shit. Yeah. It's cool to like hear perspective from former players, like professionals, and like now authors, future New York Times bestsellers, and things like that. So for real, I appreciate your time. But before I let you go, one thing we end every episode with around here is we allow our guests to control a narrative. So it doesn't have to be basketball related, doesn't have to be sports related. So I'm going to give you the floor, if you have one, to control a narrative.
Probably with health wise.
Go for it.
My father just passed away recently in December, and he was saying in April, I'm alkaline plant-based now. And he was saying in April, the old saying like, I'm, old now, like I don't need to change, my eating habits, or this is how, my parents ate. But, I feel like, we as people don't take as much, as much stake or as much, I guess we don't take as much responsibility in our health as I feel that we should. I always give it a analogy to someone. If you're driving, let's say if you were driving a Porsche or a Bentley, whatever kind of expensive car, what kind of gas would you put in it? Probably premium, right?
Premium.
So why wouldn't you do the same thing to your one body, which is a Porsche, which is like a Bentley? You only have one of these. So why not, study the most, the most you can to make sure that your body is at its running in its highest possible form. And,
Yep.
I'm so big on that now. It's one of the things that I'm trying to do with, with the book and just overall life is, we only have one of these. So why not take the best possible care of them? I think that pretty much is, my controlling the narrative. And I feel that that's my mission. That's my purpose here on this earth. And as many people that I can try to affect and change with that, I think I've done my job. And, I hope that everyone, not necessarily like listens to me, but, just follows their, true intuition and what they, what they really believe or what they feel.
Love that, man. First off, sorry for your loss, bro. I can't even imagine how tough that would be. But man, your energy, your like outlook and attitude on everything, man, it's contagious. So for everyone watching this, before we hop off here, tell everybody you could get this on Amazon. When do you plan on releasing the future volumes, and like where can they get it? Just like plug everything.
So Soul Survivors Volume 1, New Age of Heroes is on Amazon currently right now. Volume 2 should be releasing in the next 8 weeks. I'm trying to get this Volume 1 New York Times bestseller, and then we go from there.
Hell yeah.
41 more volumes to go, so be tuned.
Hell yeah, man. Well, Gary, bro, first of all, again, thanks for taking time out, but also thank you for doing everything that you're doing because it's contagious, and I think it has the potential to change so many people's mentals and just outlook on so many things. And we appreciate it for bigger than the basketball community, bigger than the sports community. Like it's literally life, and even just you ending this with the food thing, I think it wrapped it up really well. So for real, man, thank you for everything you're trying to do, and let us know obviously how we can ever help because it kind of aligns with the whole control the narrative thing. So. Just let us know, and more than happy to help spread this message, bro.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me. Definitely.
Of course, my guy.
Big love.
Of course, bro.